Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of LiveFaith, where we sit down and have a conversation about life and faith and what's going on. And for the second week in a row, I have a potentially hostile interview to do. This one is probably better than when I interviewed myself last week. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome the incomparable Gregg Olson. Hi, Gregg. How you doing?
I'm doing well, buddy. How about yourself?
We're getting through this, aren't we? One day at a time.
One day at a time.
So as we were planning some of these over the last week, kind of came to the realization that I am among the lucky few that has had the opportunity to see you face to face and talk about your winter. We got to meet up for a brief moment. I think it was 2 days before the stay-at-home order was issued, and it was the day after you and your lovely wife made it back home from out west. Does that seem about right to you?
Yep, and had a special package that you picked up.
Yeah, we found the hand sanitizer that we had been squirreling away in your basement, and we distributed those to several local businesses. Also found out a good chunk of them made their way to the Winnebago first responders. That they were able to get one of the packages, and I gave a big thumbs up to the local business that sent them our bags. It's good that that gets in the hand of people who can use it.
Absolutely. We didn't know, we bought it for the fair and didn't use it. And well, we'll use it next year. And by God, we did.
Yeah. Better there than in your basement.
Yeah, buddy.
So why don't you give everybody a little update on what the Olson family has been up to the last couple weeks while you have been stuck at home?
Pretty much like everybody, sheltering in place. Minor inconvenience. We're still able to go to Mankato once a week or so and get groceries, and the mail still comes. And we came home early, 2 weeks early, because if I was going to shelter anywhere, it was going to be in my shop with my pickup.
That would make sense to me. I do hear there is a new member of the Olson household.
Word travels fast. Yes, my sweetheart got a neat little kitten, Annie. So she is now, yes, absorbing 80% of Gwen's time. I fell down the ladder quite a bit.
I have seen a picture that needs to be distributed of your beard growing significantly until you see the paws and the tail coming off of the edge of your face.
Really? I didn't even know that's how techy I am. I didn't know this stuff was floating around.
There is a picture out there. We'll have to figure out a way to distribute that widely. So you had a winter, as you often do. Why don't you give us a little heads up on what you and Gwen were up to, and then we'll get into your special summer project or winter project there.
Well, we took off after we kind of got the farming done last fall and went out to Upland, California, and first time we'd had Thanksgiving with our daughter Elizabeth out there. Enjoyed that. And Friday I headed to Saipan and on my mission trip, and came back the 22nd of December for a week and went back again 1st of January and got back to California the 8th of March. Spent 2 weeks with my daughter getting rested up and headed home early. So it was fast.
So how many years is this in Saipan now?
I would guess this would probably be the 4th year. Surprising, because I never thought it would last that long.
And why Saipan specifically?
Well, it came about, I was doing other mission trips, and my church in California, um, I spoke there about my other mission trips into Mexico and El Salvador, and the Region 4 director of the Mennonite Disaster Service basically recruited me there, and it was a good fit, and um, it's been great. And the bad thing is, we were there for 2 years after the first typhoon and major damage, and we pulled out in April, pretty well done up, and October that same year another class 5 typhoon hit, so lots and lots of devastation. So we ended up going back, and I've been there 2 years now, but I think we're pretty well done up again.
So the Mennonites, because of the beard, is that right?
Well, it helps.
Fit right in. So this year was a little bit different than previous years, correct? Because you had a little bit more responsibility.
Yeah, and it kind of snowballed. Usually I like my mission trips to be about 6 weeks in length. It allows me to get my head on straight, as I call it, when you get there, especially in a new place. And this year, the project director for January called me and wanted to know if I would serve with him. And it was like, absolutely. And then the February director called me and same thing, and it's absolutely. And I thought, well, 2 months there, I'm golden. Well, in November, they put out a call, if we can get 5 people to sign up this week, right away, we will start the project early. And thought, I heard the calling, and I said, yeah, I can do that. The only thing was, I'm not very good at math, and we got, I didn't realize that I was only going to be in California then for a week over Christmas. So, but it was good.
So you said you're doing some projects relating to relief after typhoons. What does that sort of look like day to day for you?
This project, first off, it's partially funded by FEMA, because Saipan is a U.S. territory, which I did not know until I heard the calling to go there. And so they fund our airfare and our lodging and a small per diem for meals per day. The rest of it's all volunteer. And MDS, the Mennonites, supply our tools. So that's how that came about.
And you're doing building projects, roofing. What kind of stuff are you working on?
Under the Valor program, we were only allowed to put on roofs, doors and windows, and some plumbing and electrical. Under the previous program, we were doing complete builds, so this one limited some of the people that we were able to help. If their walls were cracked or destroyed, we could not come back in and help them under this program. So basically, roofs to begin with. Once you got the roof on, then it was doors, windows, and electrical. Very little plumbing.
And all that's damage that took place here a couple years ago with another typhoon?
Correct.
So what made you start in on doing these trips? You said I know you did some work in Mexico previously. What has driven you to these sort of missions experiences?
Well, to begin with, I was just, here listening. I feel called to serve more so abroad than locally. There's during the winter, this is going to sound a little bit strange, but first off, before I go on a mission project, it has to be Christ-centered during the winter. And the next one is it has to be warm. I can't go any place that it's cold and be effective. So
Next year's not Alaska, is what you're saying.
No, not in the winter anyway. Right. Maybe in August or July, whenever they get up above 60. But Saipan is hot, 85 degrees during the day most of the time. So that I went into the building side of it when they recruited me there. I'm not a carpenter, but I'm a facilitator. I can run the crews. I know what needs, how they want it done. I can't tell you if the ridge beam needs two 2x6s sandwiched together or three. I'm not a carpenter, but I know how it needs to be done. So that's kind of why I got recruited there. And I generally 99.5 or higher percentage of the people that come to serve are like-minded. Their heart's in the right spot, and that's one of the things that's a blessing as you get to meet. There's usually a 15-person crew roughly for 3 weeks, so you get time to really get to know them, especially on the job site. And I've made some wonderful lifelong friends that way.
So where are those crews coming from?
Pretty much out of the Mennonite communities. There's a lot of them have come out of just across the border into Iowa. Pennsylvania has a large Mennonite community. Up around north central Minnesota and then Missouri. Generally, they're kind of in communities, and they're young people. They really strive to get their young people out into the world and to experience. They're very generous people, or organization, however you want to say that.
So one of these crews shows up to Saipan, you're there, you're sort of sending them off, directing them, gathering supplies, enabling the work to be done while you're doing the typical Gregg run around like a chicken with his head cut off thing that looks like chaos, but in reality is making everything work for everybody around you. Does that seem about right?
That seems about right. When they need a parts runner, I know the island. I've been there so long, so I can add value that way. A lot of times you got good crews, they know exactly what to do, and you just kind of directing them. So yeah, I like it.
What is life on the island of Saipan like for the average person compared to what we experience here in lovely southern Minnesota?
Much more laid back. There's tourism is their main economy. Everything's small scale. There is no big box stores. There's a grocery store on almost every block, your little mom and pop. I think that's partly because they don't have a lot of spendable income, and you don't go buy a week or more's worth of groceries. I think they go to the grocery store every day or every other day and carry just a bag home with it. The temperature is always very nice. They live outside basically. In the 80 plus homes that I've worked on, I've never installed an oven. They cook on a gas hot plate or electric hot plate, or most of them have an outside kitchen and they cook outside, they eat outside. There's very few bugs. It's not like Minnesota with the mosquitoes, so it's just live outside. Electricity is expensive. generally, a lot of them have, we call them bingo. They'd go down to CUC and put $35 on electricity, and when it runs out, it runs out. When they get $35 again, they go back and, put money down on the next batch. So some people, it's one of the things that I stress when my people come in. They'll say, oh, these poor people. Don't judge them by our standards. There's a lot of outdoor bathrooms. Now, I'm here to tell you, my sweetheart wouldn't be real pleased with that. But if you're used to it, it's what you're used to, And so their health care isn't as good. They're under, that sort of thing, but their life expectancy is lower than ours. But it's a lot of it's lifestyle too.
What's the church like on Saipan?
The church, if I had this, the main one is Catholicism. There's a lot of smaller startup churches, I would call them, with anywhere from 20 to 150 is a good sized congregation down there. All flavors. I mean, everybody's got a branch down there, including the cults. I ended up at a cult church one Sunday. That was an experience. But one of the churches is an outdoor church, and there's no walls, just a roof. So you got birds flying through, and pretty cool, right on the water. Somebody like me, oh look over there, something shiny.
Some of us already do that on Sunday, and some of us are preaching while we do that on Sunday. So sounds like you're thinking maybe work in Saipan is starting to wrap up. What's the future hold for you?
I've had people ask me that even when I was going back to Saipan, and my stock answer is I don't have a clue. I just wait on the Lord. It becomes apparent to me, and it might be October before I hear, something being whispered to me that, oh, hey, kind of look, something over there shiny. And when I feel the calling ever how slightly, I always try and go into it with basically an open mind. I don't want any preconceived notions. I've been a little bit disappointed a time or so when I thought I knew what was going to go on when I went there, and I've had great workers that when they got done said, I was disappointed. I wanted to put a roof on, and to me it's like, well, you were called, you were here, but the calling was to put windows in this week. We didn't have a roof. It didn't make any less. You came to serve. So I try and basically keep a totally open mind, and for some of us that's easier than others, but so I don't have a clue, buddy.
It's hard to balance that desire to do something and desire to get out and serve with this is what really needs to be done, so we can, it's always the balance of short-term missions. I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this, but what is it that God wants to be done? What is the need that actually can be met?
Yep.
And is going to press forward the kingdom.
And that's exactly right. And there's blessings whether you're going to the same place every year, or there's totally different, equally great blessings when you're going to someplace new. You just, as long as you're open to it, it's amazing.
Well, thank you for faithfully serving and following God's call. I know I'm always encouraged when I hear you say things like, hey, we're going to see where God has in store for us, and when we see it, we're going to go. We're not going to question it. We're not going to debate it. It's just going to jump in. And that's a hard mentality to maintain, because when we have that, God really takes it. He takes that seriously, and sometimes it can be hard to take that step. So To bring this to a close, I want to ask you the question that we ask everybody. What's one encouragement that you would have for people on how they can live out their faith day to day?
Well, for me, it's hope. When we pull onto a job site in Saipan and it's complete destruction, roofing materials, doors wide open, they're living in a tent, there's trash all over, they walk outside beside the tent and throw stuff away. We move in there as a crew, we start to clean up, we remove the debris where we're going to work, and we go to work. The next day we come back and they started to clean up a little bit. And within 2 or 3 days, they've got a big area cleaned up or organized or, livable again. So you see that hope building in them, and it grows. When you have hope, it turns into faith. It's so that's in these times, we were shaken with this corona. It's like, oh my gosh, how awful is this going to be? And bad news sells, I'm sad to say, but all of a sudden now we're starting to see the hope that, well, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. And that's build on that hope, I guess, is the way I do it. No matter what the situation is, the Lord's in control. You don't know, there's going to be some negative things, but coming out of it, there's going to be some good things, guaranteed.
Well, thank you, Gregg. Appreciate your time. Thank you for serving faithfully, and thank you for coming back. We look forward to being able to spend some more time with you when we can finally gather back together. And thank you, everybody else, for tuning in to Live Faith. Well, we'll have some more coming up next week. We'll be posting as they come, but God bless. We hope you're encouraged. And Gregg, say goodbye.
Is this where I sing happy trails to you? Thank you. It was a pleasure.
And I think that's why we have editors for these things.